I took my mum to the city. While I was driving, she told me that the new metro line is opening today. It took me by complete and utter surprise. The construction of M4 was part of my childhood. It was this promise of everything's going to be alright once it is completed. It's as if it would solve world hunger or could get us to Mars. What did I know? I was a kid. I can't believe it is done. I'm so lucky that I can be here at the end of all things. I'm sure when I get to the end of the line, I'll be a different man. Or at least a man with an ice cream in his hand.
It is only logical to start with defining today's topic. The Metro 4 is the fourth or green line of Budapest Metro and opened on 28 March 2014. The first section, 7.4 kilometers in length and consisting of 10 stations, will connect
the southwestern Kelenföldi pályaudvar, located in Buda, and the eastern Keleti pályaudvar in Pest, under the river Danube.
The second section will be an eastern extension to
Bosnyák tér, while plans include a western extension to Virágpiac and further east to Újpalota.
Daily ridership has been estimated at 421,000. Once in service, the line will operate using fully automated Austin Metropolis train sets which have already been installed on the square meters line. Within Hungary, the construction of the metro has been widely panned as a source of extensive government corruption.
First plans for a fourth metro line were developed in 1972, but the track and list of the stations were finalized only in 1996. After several delays, construction work started in 2004 and the first section with 10 stations opened in 2014.
M4 will have a transfer point for M2 at Keleti pályaudvar and for M3 at Kalvintér station. Construction works taking place at Szent Gellért tér, close to the Danube River.
2009, the construction of the line has been widely criticized as slow and incompetent. Critics have panned the constant delays of evidence of widespread government corruption. The Budapest city government has repeatedly delayed the opening of the line.
Gábor Demszky,
the mayor of Budapest from 1990 to 2010, originally promised in 1998 that the first section of the line would be opened by 2003. In 2004, with the metro still unopened, he delayed the opening until 2008. In 2006, the opening was reworked to 2009 in April 2007 to 2010 in October 2007 to 2011.
In 2008, Gustav Klados,
the line's project manager, announced that the opening would be further delayed until the end of 2011. In 2009, he stated that opening would be delayed until 2012. Later that year, Klados further delayed the opening until 2012, and 1 year later, in 2010.
In 2010, István Tarlós, Dembski's successor as mayor,
pushed the likely opening back to as late as 2015. In 2011, Deputy Mayor Gyula Hudyra reaffirmed the 2015 completion date. Tarlós later clarified that a 2013 or 2014 opening were not outside the realm of possibility.
Critics have targeted the high cost of constructing and operating the line. According to estimates, the first section of the M4 will have cost approximately 452 billion Hungarian forints to build, alongside an annual operating cost of 6 billion, which is fourfold the operating cost of
the M2 and M3 combined.
These funds, they claim, could have been funneled into other large-scale transportation projects, such as the connection
of M2 to the Gödöllő
local train service, or the construction of new tram lines. Rumors that the M4 would be the most expensive metro line ever built, however, have been rebuffed by contractors.
We are going into the 21st century. This is an extraordinary achievement, one of a kind. Nothing can top this.
On the contrary, the London Underground, also known as the Tube, or simply the Underground, is our public metro system, serving a large part of Greater London and parts of the counties of Buckinghamshire, Hertfordshire and Essex. The system serves 270 stations and has 402 kilometers of track, 55% of which is above ground. The network incorporates the world's first underground railway, the Metropolitan Railway, which opened in 1863 and is now part of the Circle, Hammersmith and City and Metropolitan lines, and the first line to operate underground electric traction trains, the City and South London Railway in 1890, now part of the Northern Line. The network has expanded to 11 lines and in 2012 carried over 1 billion passengers. New lines Crossrail is under construction and expected to open in 2018, providing a new underground route across central London, integrated with, but not part of, the London Underground system. Two options are being considered for the route. of Crossrail 2 on a north-south alignment across London, with hopes that it could be open by 2033.
So, as you can see, building a metro is tough. No wonder ours was delayed for 9 years. Before anyone would criticize our fine 38-kilometer long underground system, let's look at what other big cities have. It's unfair to compare us with the British all the time.
The Paris Metropolitan is a rapid transit system in the Paris metropolitan area. A symbol of the city, it is noted for its density within the city limits and its uniform architecture influenced by Art Nouveau. It is mostly underground and 214 kilometers. It has 303 stations, of which 62 have transfers to another line. There are 16 lines, numbered 1 to 14, with 2 minor lines. Lines are identified on maps by number and color, and direction of travel is indicated by the terminus. It is the second busiest metro in Europe, after Moscow. It carried 1.541 billion passengers in 2012. It is one of the densest metro systems in the world, with 245 stations within the 86.9 kilometers tour of the city of Paris. The first line opened without ceremony on 19 July 1900 during the World's Fair. The system expanded quickly until the First World War, and the core was complete by the 1920s. Extensions into suburbs and Line 11 were built in the 1930s. In the late 1990s, the automated Line 14 was built to relieve the Line A. Since the metro was built to comprehensively serve the city inside its walls, the stations are very close, 548 meters apart on average, meaning Paris is densely networked with stations. The surrounding suburbs are served by later line extensions, thus traffic from one suburb to another must pass through the city. The slow average speed effectively prohibits service to the greater Paris area. On June 26, 2012, it was announced that the metro would get Wi-Fi in most stations. Access provided is free, with a premium paid alternative offer is proposed for a faster internet connection.
The Russians has always been our friend. They built us a nuclear reactor, sent a Hungarian to space, and now they are giving us a discount for the next reactor. We only have to pay twice the price. It's a far better deal than with the IMF. If something goes wrong, we can always join them again in a union. But no more silly jokes. Let's hear about them famous beautiful metro stations.
The Moscow Metro is a rapid transit system serving Moscow, Russia, and the neighboring Moscow Oblast towns of Krasnogorsk and Udo. Opened in 1935 with one 11-kilometer line and 13 stations, it was the first underground railway system in the Soviet Union. As of 2014, the Moscow Metro has 194 stations and its route length is 325.4 kilometers. The system is mostly underground, with the deepest section 74 meters at the Park-Pobedi station. The Moscow Metro was the world's second most heavily used rapid transit system in 2012 after Seoul Metropolitan Subway. The first plans for a metro system in Moscow date back to the Russian Empire but were postponed by World War I, the October Revolution, and the Russian Civil War. In 1923, the Moscow City Council formed the Underground Railway Design Office at the Moscow Board of Urban Railways. It carried out preliminary studies and by 1928 had developed a project for the first route from Skolniki to the city center. At the same time, an offer was made to German company Siemens Bornemann to submit its own project for the same route. In June 1931, the decision to begin construction of the Moscow Metro was made by the Central Committee of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union. In January 1932, the plan for the first lines was approved, and on March 21, 1933, the Soviet government approved a plan for 10 lines with a total route length of 80 kilometers. The beginning of the Cold War led to the construction of a deep section of the Arbatsko-Pokrovskaya line. The stations on this line were planned as shelters in the event of nuclear war. After finishing the line, in 1953 the upper tracks between Ploshchad Revolutsiai and Kivskaya were closed and later reopened in 1958 as a part of the Filiovskaya line.
Well, this has been a bit intimidating. I didn't really want to know all this. Why is everyone better in metro building? How about the USA? Do I really want to know it?
The New York City Subway is a rapid transit system owned by the City of New York and leased to the New York City Transit Authority, a subsidiary agency of the Metropolitan Transportation Authority. It is one of the most extensive public transportation systems in the world by number of stations, with 468 stations in operation. The New York City Subway is also one of the world's oldest public transit systems. Overall, the system contains 373 kilometers of routes. In 2012, the subway delivered over 1.65 billion rides, averaging approximately 5.4 million rides on weekdays, about 3.2 million rides on Saturdays, and about 2.5 million rides on Sundays. Ridership has been consistently increasing over the last several years, especially because of rising gas prices and the subway's energy efficiency. It offers rail service 24 hours per day and every day of the year. Contrary to its name, the New York City subway system is not entirely underground. Large portions of it, especially outside Manhattan, are elevated on embankments or in open cuts, and a few stretches of track run at ground level. In total, 40% is at or above ground.
Alright, that's enough. I can't take anymore. These are big cities with 10 million people living there. I think we would find that Vienna in Austria is way more similar in size. I bet that it has the same 38 kilometers of metro lines.
Vienna is Austria's primary city, with a population of about 1.757 million, more than 20% of Austria's population, and its cultural, economic, and political center. It is the seventh largest city by population within city limits in the European Union. The Vienna U-Bahn is the rapid transit system for Vienna. With the October 2013 opening of the 4.2 kilometers, 3-station extension of the U2 line, the 5-line U-Bahn network consists of approximately 80 kilometers of route, serving 104 stations. It is the backbone of one of the best performing public transport systems worldwide, according to the International Association of Public Transport. In June 2009, more than 1.3 million passengers rode the Vienna U-Bahn every day in 2009, and 567.6 million passengers utilized the U-Bahn in 2011. The network is undergoing expansion and rolling stock renewal. Since 1969, 200 million euros have been invested annually in the extension of the Vienna U-Bahn. The first section of the modern U-Bahn opened on 8 May 1976, but two of the lines extended and later designated as U-Bahn date back to the Stadtbahn city railway system, which first opened in 1898. Parts of both the U2 and U6 originate from pre-metro tunnels built to accommodate earlier tram lines. Only the U1 and U3 were built wholly as new subway lines.
This is Metro Line M4 in the direction of Kellenberg.
We got on the metro at Keleti pályaudvar and proceeded to Kelenföldi pályaudvar. The ride was supposed to be short, but because of all the stops and many passengers, it felt like a long time. Since this was the first day, a lot of people were excited and curious. I believe the time between the two terminals will be much reasonable later. The stations look really nice, despite all the rumors of corruption and money wasting. They did a good job, in my opinion. The design is different at every stop. Of course, Some stations are not very inspiring, but the traditional squares, such as Gellértér, are incredible.
Móricz Zsigmond körtér. Kelenföld vasútállomás, végállomás. Kérjük kedves utasainkat, hogy szíveskedjenek elhagyni a vonatot, és erre figyelmeztessék utastársaikat is. Viszontlátásra!
Kelenföld vasútállomás. This train terminates here. Please leave the train upon arrival. Goodbye.
The end came after about 15 minutes. I had the chance to take a look at what happens after everybody got off. Even though the line is fully automated, a driver is needed to make sure everything's all right. After a while, there will be no drivers.
Welcome on board. This is Metro Line M4 in the direction of Gellértér.
We arrived at Gellértér shortly and decided to take off and have a look. I let you enjoy the ride up to the surface.
Nem kell nyomolni. De mint az milyen utas, te is nyomogassad, ahogy kell.
De nem is megyünk egyébben, csak a jégdrágám.
Ajaj.
Halló!
Igen, csak még fölmegyek.
Harry, csinálj képet.
The voices in my head are subtly fading away. It is the end of the line. Before we say goodbye, let me satisfy all of you, especially some of the fetishists. Like foot, map, handlebar, and me, of course. After hearing about this metro line during all of my childhood, as I am looking at it as an adult, after it was delayed so many times and was promised to solve the world hunger and everything, after all that, I decide to end my journey with a Shakespearean conclusion. Much ado about nothing.